Hi modern fashion designers, you're welcome back to class. This is Modern Woman Apparel. I want to say a very big thank you to all my returning subscribers, and if this is your first time being with us, you're highly welcome. Please join us by hitting on the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so as to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you. So guys, in today's class we are going to be doing this beautiful shoulder pleated bubu dress with an overlap lapel. So if this looks like what you're here to watch, kindly stay tuned to the end of this video. Meanwhile, for this class I'm going to be making use of this fabric here. This is a damask fabric and I'm using 3¼ yards of this. 3¼ yards is okay for someone who is on a short length. Average length 3½, and if you're making this for someone who is really tall, then consider using 4 yards of fabric. So you can see my fabric here, I have folded into 4, and you can see that the shoulder part is closed, which means that there will be no shoulder joining for this. But just in case your fabric is not enough and you decide to have joining by the shoulder, you can still achieve this very style here by having a joining at the shoulder line. Do you understand? But if your fabric is enough, just go ahead and fold the shoulder part. So this is how to put your fabric on fold. Let's assume this is my fabric here, and the first thing you're going to do is to fold the length into 2. Fold the length into 2. Once you're done with that, you also fold the width into 2. Do you understand? So this is you having 4 folds. This is exactly what I have here. We are drafting the front and back parts together, and we are going to start. So because the shoulder is not going to be having joining, we are just starting from here. So for this I'm going to be making use of 3½. If this person is on the plus size, you use 4 inches. So the shoulder width of both the front and back is 3½. Now for the neckline of the back, I'm using 1½. So this works for all sizes. So this is for the front neck depth, I'm using 9 inches for the neck depth of the front here. I'm going to connect this and also this. So we'll connect this and this part here. Before we connect this very part, I just want us to have this mark here. We are coming back to this. Do you understand? So let's just continue. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take the shoulder width divided by 2. I'm working with shoulder of 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. If you want the shoulder pleat to fall out of your shoulder, you add 1 inch to your shoulder divided by 2. But I want mine to start exactly from the shoulder. Here you can decide how wide you want the shoulder plate to be. So on fold, you know, after pleating it is going to be on fold like this. So I want it to be 3 inches wide, which means when it is single like this, it's going to be 6 inches. Do you understand? So I'm taking 6 inches. Remember, you can do more or even less. So I'm taking 6 inches. This is for the shoulder pleat. After that, I'll take the sleeve length. So the sleeve length I'm working with is 10 inches here, and I'm going to be adding extra 2. I want the folding to be both, so I'm using 1 inch twice. So for the sleeve opening, we are going to be making use of the nipple point, because for this dress it's not good for the sleeve to be fitted. You really need it on it for it to give you that agbada illusion. So I'm working with 10 inches here as the shoulder to nipple point. So what you need to do is to add 1 inch to it, because I'm still coming back to add 1 inch to that 10 inches to make it 11. So the next thing is to take the hip measurement. For this we are not taking note of the waist. So take the hip length, the knee length, and also the length of your dress. So for this I'm making use of length 54 plus 2 inches for folding allowance, and that will be 56. I'm just going to rule all the lines out. Now on the hip length, what we are going to do is to take the hip measurement divided by 4 plus 4 inches. On the knee line, we are going to be doing the hip circumference divided by 4, but this time we are going to be adding just 2 inches to it, because we want the lower part to have this pencil shape. So what we have on the knee, we are also going to take it down to the length of the dress. To connect from the knee to the hip line, you have to curve it out. Can you see what I'm doing? This is where my 10 inches is. That's the nipple point. I'm going to be adding 1 inch to it for joining, because I do not want to take part of it for joining. So altogether what I have here is 11 inches. So on this part here, so on this line here, I'll also impute the hip divided by 4, and I'll be adding 6 inches to it. Now on this part here, we're making use of the largest part of the body. Do you understand? If the hip is bigger than the bust, use the hip here, but if the bust is bigger than the hip here, you're going to be using the bust. So this is the hip divided by 4, but this time we're adding 6 inches. You know we are going to be pleating this, and when you check the thumbnail, you find out that the pleat we have at the shoulder line is wider than the ones that are descending. Do you understand? So we are using that extra that we have added to make room for the pleats that are descending. So we are going to connect this into this. So what I'm doing now is to measure what I have from the sleeve length to the center front, and also impute the same figure on the sleeve side. So this is it. Now from there, I'll go in by 5 inches and I'll connect into this part like this to make sure it is not having a pointy or sharp edge. And having done with the sides, we are moving back to the neckline to complete the front neckline that we left earlier. The next place now we are going to be working on is the front neck depth. Remember I told you we just make this marking and we left it to come back to it later. Now if you check this lapel here, you see that picture 1 is quite different from picture 2. Do you understand? Look at the screen, you see the pictures we have. Picture 1, the lapel in the front of picture 1 is overlapped, while the lapel in the picture 2 is not. So we are making the picture 1, which is the overlapped lapel. So now what we are going to be doing is to consider that this lapel is actually going to overlap each other. They are not side by side. Do you get? So what we are going to take note of now is the width of the lapel we are going to be using. So here I want to make use of a lapel that is 2.5 inches wide. Now what I'm going to do is not to place that 2.5 inches wide here, because they are not going to be side by side. They are going to be overlapping each other, which means we are putting just one lapel into consideration. You get? Because at the end of the day, the other one will be on top of it, making it the same measurement. So we are going to be putting the width of just one part of the lapel into consideration. So we are using 2.5. Now we are going to be dividing that 2.5 into 2, and we'll have 1.25, right? So here we are going to be imputing 1.25. So from here, from this neck depth, we'll go all the way down to the hem by 1.25. Remember our fabric is on 4, that means when we open this up, it's going to be 2.5. Now if your lapel is going to be 3 inches wide, you do 1.5. If your lapel is going to be 2 inches, you do 1 inch. After this, we'll come in with our curve ruler and use this curved part of our ruler to connect these points. Note that we are not using the straight part of our ruler. And the next thing is to add 1/2 inch to the neckline and 1/2 inch from top to down of the center front. Before we cut this out, I want to mark out the underbust length I'm working with. That's where the snatch waist rope will be. You can also decide to put this on the waistline, but I always prefer using the underbust line. So after marking out the underbust line, what I'm going to do is to impute the waist circumference divided by 4 on that line. So that's where the snatch waistband will be. And now we also repeat same thing on the other side of the front. And after that, I'll just cut out. Note that we are cutting the back neckline first. So guys, this is what I have. The next thing we are going to do is to open up so that we can cut out the front. So open it up this way, then take the length of one to the left and take the length of one to the right, while bringing the two sleeves together. Now we are going to cut. Take note that we are cutting on the first line, not the second line. Do you understand? Now that we are done cutting, the next thing to do is to start sewing. But before we do that, just highlight where the shoulder line is. So I'm making this highlight on the wrong part of this. I'm still going to repeat it on the right side. Take note that while making that highlight on the right side, you're going to use a chalk that is fainting. Make sure it's a chalk that can be easily erased. So this is the right pattern. I'm gently highlighting the shoulder line. So remember that this is the right side of this fabric and this is the shoulder line. So first thing first, we have to take the shoulder measurement. So this is the shoulder. We took 3.5 and we entered in by ½ inch. That means what we have here now is 3 from the center to the shoulder. So after that, we'll take the 6 inches for the pleat. So this is the 6 inches we'll have for the pleat here, and half of that 6 inches is 3 inches, right? So the 3 inches line, you're going to rule it all the way to where you want the pleat to stop. So for this, I'm going to be stopping at 15 inches. That is 1 inch before the waistline I'm working with. So I did this on the front. I'm also going to be repeating it on the back and to the other side of this dress. Now after that, I'll just pick up that 3 inches line, take it to my ironing table and iron it. So I'll repeat this on the other side as well. Now once you're done ironing to that point, all you need to do is from this point of 3 inches. Now this stitch depends on how long you want it to be. Do you get? So for this, I'm not taking the stitch all the way to this 15 inches. No, I'm just going to be marking 3 inches. So you can even let the stitch to be just at that shoulder point. So from this shoulder line, I'll do 3 inches here and 3 inches here. So 3 inches to the front and 3 inches to the back. I'll stitch from this first point of 3 inches to this point, which means I'm stitching on 6 inches. Do you get? So that's exactly. But to iron, you're going to iron all the way to where you want the pleats to stop. Do you understand? So I'm going to do this on both sides and we'll continue. So after stitching the shoulder pleats, the next thing we are going to do is to attach the lapel. So what we are doing now is to measure. So what you're going to do is to measure the roundness of the neckline. So from the hemline of this front, you're going to measure to the back neckline and down to the hemline of the front. So whatever you have, please do well to add up to 5 inches to it. Do you understand? It's better you have excess than to have shortage. So once you're done, if you have excess, you can just trim it out. We say that our collar will be 2.5 inches. So what we are going to do is to cut out a band that is 3 inches width. This is 3 inches on fold. Can you see that? And here is what I have. So once you are done cutting it out, all you need to do is to press the center. For this, you can see there is no interfacing. I did not make use of interfacing for this. I always prefer it without an interfacing in the center front here. So what I'm going to do now is to join. So to join this, you're simply going to match it right side facing each other. Do you understand? So you are going to merge it right side facing each other and you will just stitch with your ½ inch sewing allowance all round. So I'll do that, and once I'm done with that, the next thing I'm going to be doing will be to attach the snatch waistband. So here you have to measure. This is the front part where we have the snatch waist and this is the shoulder line. So this is the strap I have here. This is 1.25 on fold after I'm done sewing. So what I have here is 1.25. That means I cut out 1.75, use ½ inch to stitch, and what I have here is 1.25. So here I'm having 22 inches. The length doesn't really matter. The length here doesn't really matter. What matters is for you to have a length that will be enough for the size of your client. Now we're going to be attaching the strap on that mark we did earlier on when we were cutting the fabric, and that's the underbust. And remember, I said you can still use the waistline of your client, but I just prefer using the underbust for my clients. So I'll just place the belt below the underbust line and stitch it on that waist divided by 4 mark. So after joining the lapel and the waist belt, this is what I have. Now for the center there you're going to be using your overlocking machine to just overlock the raw edges. And next thing is to hem the sleeve. So I use 1 inch twice. Remember, we added 2 inches. So, and after that we are going to be joining the sides with 1 inch. So go ahead and join the sides with 1 inch, and also hem the lower parts. On the hemline we added 2 inches for hemming, so I'm also going to be using 1 inch twice to hem it. Now you can see that my collar there, so you just trim out the excess and hem the lower part. So guys, I'm done with the side and the hemline. The next thing you're going to do now is to overlap this. So you're going to choose which part you want to overlap. So for this, I want the right part to overlap the left part. So you just, for it to overlap it this way, take note of your neck depth. So the neck depth I want to use here is 9 inches. So from that 9 inches, can you see the way I position this? So you can also decide to do this. You can also decide to do this on your mannequin. So from that neck depth, you're going to place your hand this way. To stitch this, you can either use your press button on this very part and start stitching from this point here. Do you understand, where it meets with the other edge, all the way to where you want the slit to start? And once you've gotten to where you want the slit to start, just take your hand this way as you stitch. Do you understand? Or you top stitch all the way from the neck depth down to where you want the slit to start. That's the method I'm going to be using. Just do this as long as the neck of your client or the head of your client can pass through the neckline. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to overlock all the raw edges, iron it, put it on my mannequin for us to see what we have. So guys, this is the final look of our beautiful dress. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe if you have not done so. And guys, we have a new YouTube channel that we created strictly for pattern illustrations. Kindly join us at Draft with Modern Woman. I would love to see you there. And to join our fashion designers platform, kindly send a DM to the number on the screen and you'll be added to the group. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. A Modern Woman. Bye for now.